Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Chainlink. If you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So a lot of times I like to do a lot of custom charts for Chainlink. Last video and this video I'm just pulling up TradingView. I don't want to just show the same custom chart because it only updates every day. A lot of them, they're just single data points. So let's just take a look at what's going on TradingView, and I just want to follow up with what we said last time. Looking at Link, it is, in my opinion, king of the altcoins. And first we just look at the 20-week moving average, and here's also the 21-week EMA. You can see they are pretty similar. Obviously they return slightly different prices because the 20-week is a smooth, it's like a simple moving average. You just take the average price. The EMA, the 21-week EMA, is an exponential moving average, so it's weighting the most recent prices heavier, so it reacts quicker to what the price is currently doing. Kind of the idea of, okay, well, it's great, but what can it do for me now? That's where exponential moving averages can come in handy. You can see that actually Link is holding the 20-week moving average as support on the weekly time frame right now. We first held it in terms of the body of the candles. We've had wicks below, but if you look at the bodies of the candles, we came down to the 21-week EMA, which is the green line, at around $9 or so, just over $9. And then we crossed above, the 20-week crossed above the 21-week EMA, and then Link has been rallying just north of the 21-week EMA. Currently, the 21-week EMA this is the 20-week SMA. The 21-week EMA is the green line. So now we've been rallying above the 20-week SMA, the simple moving average. Currently, the 20-week simple moving average is at $11.28. So you can see that. Let me highlight it a little bit better. So that's the 20-week moving average. You can see it's $11.28. So far, Link has rallied ahead of the 20-week moving average. Now, if we go back and look, is this line that useful? Well, it's not really, to be completely honest, right? It's really not that useful. You can see that after many rallies in the past, in fact, we've come below the 20-week moving average. That was an 18% drop to the body of the candle. This was 15. Here was one that took us down 27%. So even if we do drop below, it's really not that indicative of anything that's incredibly important. To give you an idea, if we were to drop below by that level, let's say 15-20%, it could theoretically take Link back down to $8 or $9. What would cause Link to do this? Well, we know that Bitcoin, I was doing another video on Bitcoin. We know Bitcoin is getting somewhat overextended, okay? And I understand people want to buy into the narrative that it's going to go to, six figures incredibly quickly, but it's likely just not going to happen. We're going to have several retracements. Even last market cycle, we had several retracements back to the 20-week moving average. And remember, the reason why Bitcoin's important is because having Bitcoin and Link in your portfolio improve your risk-adjusted returns because they improve your covariance matrix, because when Bitcoin's doing well, Link does not tend to do as well on a daily basis, but if Link's doing well, then Bitcoin might not be doing so well. So they tend to offset their negative volatility, which gives you a better risk-adjusted return as measured by the Sharpe ratio, and measuring where the efficient frontier is. So given this rally, it's still causing a question exactly when Link will make a move. Yes, Link has been moving up, but again, who cares? This is nothing more than being dragged up by Bitcoin. We don't care about this. We want to see Link pump against Bitcoin, right? And so that's why this chart is not as important. It just simply isn't, because at the end of the day, if as I said about other coins recently, like Ethereum, at the end of the day, I choose, not that it's financial advice, I choose to hold Ethereum, I choose to hold Chainlink. If I could have expected better returns with Bitcoin with lower volatility, hell, I would have just purchased Bitcoin and that's it. That's not the case. We expect higher returns for Ethereum. We expect higher returns for Chainlink. Therefore, we understand we're going to pay for that theoretical higher return with greater units of risk. And that means we're going to see these larger drawbacks, right? I mean, from this local bubble, we saw a 65% dump down. Now, if you're on the premium list, by the way, at intothecryptoverse.com, which you get access to weekly reports, weekly videos, a risk dashboard, private alerts channel, private chat room, and some TradingView indicators. if you take a look at that, we were selling. I mean, at least I was, and I think a lot of people were also selling up here. The last sell I made of Link was at 1850. I did not time the top. I don't claim to be able to time the top, but I did make a pretty significant sell at 1850, and the sell before that was at $14. So I sold four. If I can, it's hard to draw it on here. I mean, I could do a text box, but I sold 4/15 here and then 3/15 here. And then I sold 2/15 at $10. And again, all this was published on the premium list. And then when it came back down to this level, I was aggressively accumulating. And again, it had another wick below too. So the first wick that took us below the 0.5 Link USD risk was around $7 to $8. The second one was between $8 to $9. And this was where I accumulated more Chainlink. Again, if you don't own Chainlink, I personally would consider this an asset too risky not to hold for the duration of the market cycle. I do think that, again, as I said before, $12 for me, $13 for me is too high of a price for me to purchase it at. But if I did not have any, then it might be a different story. Like if I did not have any, then I might approach it differently. It's the same thing I said with Bitcoin. You know, if Bitcoin, if a lot of common questions I get is, well, if I don't own any Bitcoin, should I buy some, right? Or should I just DCA? Again, if you don't own any, that's a different story. Like, and a lot of times the lump sum can be useful just to get exposure to the market. So lump sum then DCA is generally my opinion. So when you do sell a lot and then you get the opportunity to buy back in at a 60% discount and you don't really have much Link anymore because you sold it, you can aggressively get back in to just get your position back, and then from then on you could just DCA. Just to slowly accumulate if it is within your risk tolerance. But again, this is not that important. What's more important, again, is looking at the Link Bitcoin valuation, which does tend to do a pretty decent job of holding this level. We do come down below it a few times. Here was a 35% drop below it. Here was another 16% drop. This one, a 15% drop. This one was maybe like a 5% drop or so. Currently, we're about maybe 13% below it. But the nice thing is we've dropped below it several times. We've always recovered. It doesn't mean we're always going to recover, but every time so far, we've recovered on back in terms of the Link Bitcoin valuation, right? Every single time we've dropped below, it's only a matter of time, and it didn't even drop below. It's only a matter of time before we recover. So what I would say is, I can't tell you when it's going to recover. It largely depends on when Bitcoin cools off. As long as Bitcoin continues to print weekly candles that are just systematically moving up, I do not anticipate the Link Bitcoin valuation doing anything substantial anytime soon. Once we see Bitcoin cool off for a bit, and either start moving sideways or come down and move sideways or go up and then come down and then move sideways, whatever it does, generally speaking, Bitcoin needs to cool off for the Link Bitcoin valuation to start going up. If Bitcoin keeps going up, Link will probably continue to go up too, because Bitcoin will drag it up against USD. But that's not what we're here for, right? We're not here to slightly underperform Bitcoin. We're here because we want to try to obtain a higher return by biting off more units of risk. And one of the ways we do that is getting coins that are more volatile than Bitcoin that we expect to have higher returns. And then Link is one of those for me, not financial advice. If you take a look at Link Ethereum, it tends to drop below it even less. Here is a 7 or 8% drop. That one was maybe a 4% drop. Currently, we're about 4%, 5% below this bull market band. If we zoom out and look at the whole band, you can see how, apart from this early on right here, you can see how well a Link has respected this line. Yes, we've dropped below it a few times. Yes, we could dump significantly because it's always a possibility, but we recognize that it is a risk, and you just have to figure out if it's a risk you want to take. Again, I cannot tell you what it's going to do, but we look at these trends and say, you know what? A lot of times when it's coming down to this level, it's pretty short-lived. Now, this does not mean that Link necessarily has to pump against the US dollar, right? This is the Link Ethereum valuation. So if Ethereum were to go down, then the Link Ether valuation would go up. Or if Ethereum were to go up and Link did not go up, then the Link Ether valuation would go down, even at the same USD price for Link. So if Link stayed humdrum at 1240 and Ethereum went to $500-600, then this would probably come back down even further. But if Link can keep up with Ethereum and stay ahead of it, then obviously we would expect to maybe see a small pump from here. You can see we've had other pumps that took us 100% above or close to it several times. So just something to consider. I do, as I said before, I think Chainlink is too risky not to hold in the short term. Of course, it could dump. One way that it would dump in the short term is if Bitcoin corrects. If Bitcoin corrects back down to, say, 13K, 14K, then rest assured Link will probably dump against Bitcoin and against USD during that time period. But I anticipate that if you're watching this channel, you don't care about that because we're not as interested in short-term moves. Remember, if you look at the BLX and you go back and look at what Bitcoin has done, historically speaking, I'll switch over to the weekly time frame. Between tests of the 20-week moving average last market cycle, we can see that the price of Bitcoin had increased by about 20 to 30%, depending on and exactly how accurately I measure where the price came down to. And it took about maybe 10 weeks in between tests. So that was one. We showed this in a dedicated Bitcoin video as well. Here was another where we came back down 20% later and 13 weeks later. And then another one, which is around 10 weeks later and 25% increase later. So, and this was the beginning of the cycle, right? If we were to see something like that again, maybe a 20 to 30% move increase in price by the time Bitcoin retests the 20-week, as measured from the last time it left the 20-week, it could put Bitcoin testing, somewhere between 12.5, 13.5, maybe 14K, depending on exactly when it happens. In about a month, or maybe even a little over a month, if history repeats. History does not have to repeat. Let's make that clear. History does not have to repeat, but recognize that this is not just going to go up monotonically forever and never retrace. There will be retracements. Even in the last market cycle, we saw several of them, and that was a pretty explosive market cycle, which also yielded lower returns than the prior market cycle, which yielded lower returns than the prior market cycle. So that's just something to consider with Bitcoin, that if it does dump in the short term, Link will likely dump as well. That could be a good buying opportunity, right? It could be maybe it would even hit my level where I would buy Link again. Again, you can find access to that on the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com. But we'll see what happens. One thing that could happen is if Bitcoin doesn't really dump, but it just kind of maybe very slowly bleeds and doesn't really do much else, that could also be good for altcoins. Okay, a slow bleed of Bitcoin might not mean that people are running for stable coins or fiat. Maybe it's just people are taking profits of their Bitcoin, moving it into altcoins, maybe moving it into Link, maybe Ethereum, maybe some other coins, in anticipation of the fact that they might move, considering that they have not moved relative to Bitcoin in a while. So if there's a slow bleed of Bitcoin, it could just mean that money's flowing into altcoins. But if Bitcoin continues to rally on up, then rest assured most of the market is going to be continuing to focus on Bitcoin. I hope this has been useful. Remember, if you guys like the content, subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel in the description below. And I will see you next time. Bye.